Call the meeting of Commissioners Court to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge. Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 2. Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation today will be brought by Chaplain Robert Bostic, Alliance Church of Christ and Alpha Omega Hospice, Justin, Texas.
Father, we're thankful for the Christmas of the morning, and I pray that you be with this court as they make decisions pro and con for our populace. I pray, Father, that you continue to bless their lives collectively as well as individually. Be with us as a community as we involve ourselves in the season of the year, and help us, Father, to be aware of those who are less fortunate. In Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Reverend.
Robert, thank you very much for being here today. Mr. Manius, agenda announcements.
Thank you, Commissioner. Members of the court, we have two announcements relating to the agenda this morning. They're both under the County Administrator section. On item 8A1, this is a letter of engagement with the KPMG. We have a revised court communication in your folder for you this morning. Also on A6, which is action concerning legislative issues, as you know, our policy requires that we have a 5-person unanimous vote. Since we do not have 5 members of the court present today, we're going to hold that until next week. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. We have our minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes. Special call meeting of November the 19th and regular meeting November the 20th.
Move for approval of both meetings.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve. Any discussion? There being none, please vote. Let me find the right button up here. And we got some people missing.
Well, got it.
Oh, you need to turn mine back on. I'm going to vote for that. Now we're right. Vote is unanimous with all that's here. We have a proclamation today, World AIDS Day. Commissioner Brooks brought this forward. It will be presented at another time, so we need to move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Being none, please vote. Vote is unanimous. Consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
Agenda.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote's unanimous. Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Commissioner. Members of the court, we have 5 additional items for you this morning under the Administrator section. The first, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve a letter of engagement between the county and KPMG to serve as our outside auditor for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2012.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Members of the court, on item number 2, this is also a letter of engagement with KPMG. This is for the audit of the district and county clerk's court registry accounts as of September 30th, 2012.
Move for approval.
I second, but have a question.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Is this what you do regularly, we do, or is there a reason why we decided to?
There was a statute that was passed September 1, 2009 that required that. The reason we're doing
annually?
Yes. The reason we're doing this separately is simply because This was not a part of the original letter of engagement with KPMG.
Gotcha.
Any further discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Members of the Court, on item number 3, this is also a letter of engagement with KPMG, which outlines the audit procedures related to the Housing Assistance Office financial data, which has been submitted to HUD. There's no additional cost on this. The $4,000 that you see for the audit fee was approved in our first court action this morning.
Move for approval.
Second?
Motion made and second to approve. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Members of the Court, on item number 4, we're requesting that the Court approve a resolution which establishes an interjurisdictional emergency management program between Tarrant County and the City of North Richland Hills.
Move for approval?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? There being none, please vote. Vote is unanimous.
And then finally, members of the Court, on item number 5, we're requesting that the Court concur with actions of the Board of Managers of the Hospital District and approve a resolution determining the necessity of acquiring real property and authorizing its appropriation and or condemnation for public use. And this property is located at Lot 49-RA, Newton Addition, which is inside of the City of Arlington.
Move for approval.
Second?
Motion made and second to approve. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, GK. Ms. Tidwell.
This morning, we're requesting that the Commissioners' Court authorize the removal of assets no longer on hand or belonging to the county from the county's asset management system. The local government code requires the reconciliation between the inventory that the purchasing agent conducts and the auditor's office's records of the assets owned by the county, and we wind up with always a few minor discrepancies, and we're simply asking for permission to remove those items that we no longer have.
Move for approval?
Second, but can I ask one question?
Yes, sir.
What do we do with these assets after we retire them? Do we?
The majority of the assets, it's up to the purchasing agent to dispose of those assets, and many of them are sold at auction, by and large, but occasionally through bookkeeping errors and obviously some other issues, we wind up with some that simply need to be removed.
Okay, but we still keep track of them once they're retired from. Do we still keep track of them, or how do we store that?
Well, we either dispose of them, or if we no longer have them, then we simply just need to remove them from the inventory because we don't have them, but we don't know exactly.
Okay, I see. Okay, I understand.
I mean, we have a lot of assets. This is a very small quantity. I think everyone does a really good job, not my office per se, but the people keeping up with them, and certainly the work that purchasing does, and then we try to reconcile. And so this list is for those items that simply need to be removed. If they're sold or disposed of, they're handled and removed that way, and I don't need to ask Commissioners' Court if they've been disposed of, like through the auction.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
We had a motion and a second. Any further discussion? There being none, please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Facilities Management, Mr. Phillips.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
It's requested that Commissioners Court approve Amendment Number 2 to the HOK Architect's contract for architectural and engineering services related to the design of the Civil Courts building included in the 2006 Capital Improvement Program.
Move for approval.
Second?
Motion made and second to approve. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
David. Human Resources, Ms. Flynn.
Move to receive and file the personnel agenda.
Second?
Motion made and second to approve the personnel agenda. Any discussion? To receive and file, not approve. Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you and good morning. We have 3 additional items. The second item, we're asking the court to approve organizational changes that affect the Sheriff's Office and County Criminal Court Number 10. As explained in your court communique, we're seeking approval to transfer a Deputy Sheriff bailiff position from the Sheriff's Office to County Criminal Court Number 10, effective 12/1.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve the change. Why are we doing this?
Judge Sorrells has requested or would like the ability to be able to appoint zone bailiff, and Judge Sorrell will be the fourth county criminal court judge to be able to do so. He has authority, as outlined in your court communique, under Texas Government Code 25.2223.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that, but I thought we were trying to get away from that. The judges were. Okay. Any other discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you. Our third item, we're asking the court to approve changes to the table of organization for community development. The Director of Community Development has a vacant temporary position. She's requesting that the position be changed to a project temp effective 11/28. There's no fiscal impact to the general fund.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
And our fourth and final item,
Run right back there.
we're asking the court to approve a waiver of terminal benefits for Precinct 3. Precinct 3 has an equipment maintenance supervisor who's retiring at the end of the year with 400 vacation hours. Precinct 3 is requesting a waiver of 368 of those hours, effective January 5th of next year. We're estimating fiscal impact, actually a net savings of approximately $1,500.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second to approval of waiver. Any discussion? There being none, please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
Do any of you think we need the Sheriff's Department to check out the covered bandit we have back there in the back today?
I thought there ought to be 2 bags back there.
But Judge Whitley is not here. I don't think you have to do that.
There's another one that needs to be bagged in front of it.
Y'all are going to have to do this again next week when the judge is back. You know that, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll save it for next week because we.
So save your sack.
It's not as bad as the swine flu, but I still feel ill.
All right. Transportation.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
My computer is slow this morning.
We are requesting your approval of the renewal of interlocal agreements with the cities of Arlington and Keller. This is related to the projects that are included in the 2006 Transportation Bond Program.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
Any appointments today?
Yes, sir, I do. I would like to reappoint Mr. Rob Johnson onto the board for Place 2 on Arlington Tours number 4, which is the Arlington Highlands, and number 5, which is the Entertainment District.
Is that a motion?
Yes, sir, that's a motion, please.
I'll second. Any discussion? There being none, please vote. Vote is unanimous. Any bonds? Yes, sir.
Members of the court, we need a motion today to approve the official bonds of the following constables: Precinct 3, Darrell Huffman; Precinct 8, Michael Campbell.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve both bonds. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous. Thank you.
And one additional point of information, we also have a blanket bond for staff and reserves of Precinct 8, Constable's Office, which does not require Commissioners Court approval, but that blanket bond will be filed with the county clerk.
All right. Thank you very much. We have our claims and addendum.
Move for the approval of the claims and the addendum.
I second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous. Any announcements today? Briefing, Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have two items we'd like to bring to the court this morning. The first one concerns an update on the Tex Rail project. Mr. Skinner is here to introduce the speaker.
Good morning once again. Today we have Mr. Rob Harmon with the Fort Worth Transportation Authority here to provide you with a status update on the Tex Rail project. As you recall, this is a project that the Commissioners Court passed a resolution recently in support of the allocation of $20 million in bond funds for this particular project. And I will turn it over to Mr. Harmon to provide you with an update on where we stand with that project.
All right. Thank you. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. First of all, we really appreciate the county's support in this project. We've been working on it a long time, and y'all have been a partner since day one, so we certainly appreciate that. This presentation is the same one I did at the city's working group committee earlier this month. It's a presentation of where we are on the work elements and a couple things we're working on in the region that supports the Tex Rail project. I'm not sure how to advance this slide. Just page down. Right here. Okay. All right. These are the 7 work elements that are going on concurrently with the goal of reaching final design, which we plan on getting approval to go into final design about a year from now, approximately September 2013. So all these things have to happen prior to getting approval from FTA to enter into that final design phase. The first one is preliminary engineering. We have 4 teams working on the various segments. We've included the 15% preliminary engineering in our environmental process that we submitted to FTA in October. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And we are focusing on value engineering along the corridor areas that we can save money. In addition, the preliminary engineering is helping us with our railroad negotiations. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. The environmental process is very important in a new starch project. The FTA is very concerned about NEPA, the Environmental Act of the federal government. So we have submitted 2 drafts of our update to the environmental document here in the last month. We plan on having our final environmental document approved by FTA sometime in the spring. That will get us to a record of decision in the summer, and that allows us to do a number of different things, including property acquisition. This project will be done under a design, build, procurement, delivery method. We are working on that process right now. We shortlisted 4 prime contractors, and we will send RFPs to those contractors within the next 2 weeks. So we expect to have the proposals back from those four companies within 2 months, and we'll select the contractor for this design build in probably March.
Any company from Texas?
Any company from Texas?
Any one of those 4?
I'm not sure.
Not sure.
These are large companies, so I'm not sure where their headquarters are.
Okay, thank you.
But they're using a lot of subcontractors, many of whom are from the region, Fort Worth and Tarrant County. Of course, we're in the new starts process. We're requesting approximately $450 million from FTA, so this requires us to go through significant new starts process. We updated our submittal in September. We're getting comments back on that submittal. We actually plan on another update next year. Before that, we're going to submit an updated financial plan probably this spring. That will help us Yes, sir.
I got a dumb question to ask, and maybe you can kind of, as you go, tell us what some of these acronyms are.
Oh, okay, sure.
I think I know what FTA is, but what is PMOC?
PMOC is the project management oversight consultant that the FTA, of course, federal.
I knew that.
Yes. I'm sorry.
No, okay.
We do use a lot of acronyms.
Authority?
I'm sorry?
FTA, Federal
Transportation
Okay.
Authority, yes. And they're the ones that are funding this project. So what they do is they hire a consultant to overlook our new starts process. So we meet with this consultant
Okay. Go ahead.
often monthly. So anyway, that's the process we're going through. It's a significant effort. Obviously, when the federal government has given us so much money, they require significant oversight, not only directly with them, but with the PMOC or the project oversight consultant. And of course, to go along with the money we're getting from FTA, we need local funds equaling that total. 50% of the project cost comes from federal government, and 50% will be locally committed funds. Corridor agreements, MOUs, of course, memorandums of understanding. We are required to have these in place to gain access to these various corridors. As y'all may recall, there are 3 host railroads in the corridor: Fort Worth and Western, Union Pacific, and Dart, that owns the Cotton Belt that takes us to the airport. In addition, Burlington Northern has a little piece of the corridor under what we call the hole in the wall. It's the tracks under Spur 280, just outside of downtown. There's significant pinch points, and BNSF is helping us get through that area with this. So we're making great progress. We have an MOU drafted with Union Pacific, which was quite an effort. Took us 2 years to get that. We are having weekly meetings with Fort Worth and Western. That's also a significant effort. And DART, of course, owns the Cotton Belt. They're partners in the TRE, so those discussions are a little easier. But we are spending a lot of time on corridor agreements. Approximately of this project, it's almost $1 billion, $960 million. Of that, about $100 million is real estate acquisitions or access agreements. There are 100 parcels of land that we've identified along this corridor that we have to purchase or get access agreements to. So we are working on the ROD, which is a record of decision, allows us to go make some of those acquisitions. The FTA has allowed us to do title work surveys and appraisals in advance of that decision.
Are those partials, are all of them involved in the trackage portion, or are some of them for station locations?
Yes, it's both.
Parking,
platform locations, acquisition of right-of-way in some cases. For instance, the Union Pacific is purely an acquisition of right-of-way. But in addition, our alignment requires us to buy certain parcels of land along that right-of-way. Then, of course, station parking is a big piece of it, as well as I mentioned, the platforms. And then finally, the FRA, which is the Federal Railroad Administration, requires us to go through a safety plan. Safety is a significant priority for commuter rail, obviously. So we are working on that plan. We've submitted it to FRA. They've given us comments back. In this part of the work elements that we're working on is pretty much done. We'll probably get one more round of comments, and then we'll complete that process. So once all these are done, we expect approval to go into a final design, which will take about a year. That will put us into the fall of 2014, at which time we will begin construction, which will take about 2 years. I mentioned some regional initiatives. The T, DART, and DCTA are teaming with the North Central Texas Council of Governments to implement PTC, which is Positive Train Control, a congressional mandate for all commuter rails to implement this crash avoidance system, if you want to call it that. So as a region, we're working together, and we've identified some funding from COG to help us with that effort, and we're making good progress with that. The other regional effort that's going on right now is an analysis of a DMU, which is a diesel multiple unit. That is a, if you want to call it, a self-propelled rail car. The region has identified this type of vehicle for future commuter rails. Our current plans include a TRE type vehicle, which is a locomotive coach hauled type of train set. Funding has been identified from a number of sources, not the least of which is the Texas Department of Transportation. And they are telling us if we can work into our plan some way to change to this DMU vehicle, they can fund part of it. So we're studying the vehicle, the approvals necessary from FRA and things like that, and we probably will be changing the vehicle in our plan very soon based on some of the support we're getting from the region. So that concludes my update. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I'm sure y'all have read about the TexRail in the newspaper probably, and that may generate more questions than answers a lot of times.
Mr. Fickus?
Yeah, I do. In 2008, I guess, is when y'all, I want to say, I think that's when it was, when you started this process.
Mm-hmm.
And it was called, Southwest to Northeast.
Yes.
And it was going to be operational at the airport in 2012, 2013. Well, now we're looking at
2016.
2016.
Mm-hmm.
Trains move slow.
Obviously. Do you see, evidently something's caused
Mm-hmm.
this doubling of time? What else is out there that's going to slow this down?
That's a good question. Actually, that's the similar question I got from the city's working group earlier this month. We were initially delayed by FTA. FTA has significant criteria and evaluation efforts with these types of projects, and they required us to go in and completely redo the ridership modeling effort that COG does for us, and that took us 2 years. So once we had a 2-year delay, that made our original environmental document stale, so we had to go in and renew. So those are some of the reasons. Looking at that, there are 3 reasons, or 3 areas that I'm watching closely that could cause a delay. The first one is additional environmental work that's required based on some of our negotiations with host railroads, specifically Fort Worth and Western. They're requiring us to do a couple things in order for them to agree to our access on their corridor. So that may change the environmental work, which potentially could cause another delay. The other one, I mentioned the vehicles and changing that. We think the regional vehicle is a better vehicle for this project, and we really want it for TexRail. It may cause us a slight delay. The environmental impact of that vehicle is different than the TRE vehicle. We think it's better. We think there's less vibration and less noise with this vehicle, but we still need to study it. We're watching that closely. We're making efforts to prevent that from causing any additional delay. The other one is very significant, and that is the financial plan. The FTA requires us to submit a 25-year financial plan as part of this New Start submittal, and it's very challenging considering all the funding efforts and the service levels that we have now. Right now, our financial plan is in good shape, if they come in and challenge it and make us go back and change some of the assumptions, it may take us a while to sort those things out. So those are the three areas that could cause
Let
us
me
to
ask
delay.
you something about that. You were talking, you threw out a number of $900 million, probably the kind of the total
Yes.
picture number. Did that include any cost for positive train control?
It does.
Okay. Stations and what a I guess my concern is if we build stations that look like what y'all built in Richland Hills, you are setting yourself up to fail, in my opinion. You're not going to attract the ridership, I think, that you need to attract. You need to get the businessman out of the car.
Mm-hmm.
That's who you need to go for. And if that's not who you're aiming for, I think you're headed in the wrong direction. But that's my opinion. That's going to be the success. That seems to be the success of other commuter systems across the country, in that it's something that a wide variety of people ride, and not just the people who can't afford to buy a car or don't own a car. You need to get something that's built that will bring that guy, the businessman who works downtown, to get him out of his car. And you know what that's going to take. It's going to take a quality, first-class product. Is that what we're prepared to do? Or are we going to try to?
We're not looking at TRE as a model. We're completely redesigning the station platform and the look. Now, that's a good point, though, making sure the stations are attractive enough and they are comfortable and they support business persons' travel and things like that. So that is something we spend a lot of time on. We're interested in transit-oriented development that sometimes helps your business person travel. There's either coffee, cleaners, different types of businesses surrounding the stations. So that is something we're looking at.
Okay. Go ahead.
Any other questions?
How much money would it take to bring this rail line into Arlington? Is that even possible now?
Well, this particular corridor, it's not that close to Arlington. The track that is identified, or the corridor that's been identified to best serve Arlington, is the current Union Pacific track that goes from downtown Fort Worth to downtown, through downtown Arlington and on into Dallas. We've had significant discussions with Union Pacific, and they're not really interested in letting us use that corridor. So there may be some other ways to get to Arlington. Our TRE corridor is actually closer to Arlington than TexRail is, and that may be some way to bring rail service into Arlington, is in conjunction with TRE.
I see. Thank you.
I got one other question. There's something out there called the Cotton Belt Initiative.
Yes, sir.
What effect does that have if that group, private sector, quasi-public, private, whatever it morphs into?
Right.
What does that do to you if they're successful in putting together a project that's approved by the RTC?
Mm-hmm.
What does that do for?
We are involved in that project, obviously, because we're a big part of it, half of it.
Let me just say this. I'm not involved in any kind of day-to-day negotiations. That's at a different level right now.
Okay.
It will at some point come down to the RTC
Right.
to look at all that, and I guess make some kind of vote on that.
Mm-hmm.
So
we look at it
if
as
that happens, what are you out of business?
No. Well, we're not. That's a very complex
I know.
issue.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but it's the same track.
It's absolutely the same track, and we're part of the Cotton Belt Initiative.
Right.
We're the western half of it, if you will. And We've had significant discussions with them. As a matter of fact, we meet every week to discuss that effort, and we are making progress. We see it as a complementary effort to get the eastern side of the Cotton Belt Initiative funded, because TexRail is a better system with the eastern Cotton Belt operating as commuter rail. A one-seat ride across the corridor, North Tarrant County, North Dallas, is significant. We want that. We desperately want it and need it. And part of our ridership models for TexRail include commuter rail on the east side of Cotton Belt. Now, I say it's complementary because this effort needs the funding that we bring to the table with our TexRail initiative. So the way I see it is that, and I don't know any more than anyone else, but my view is we push forward with TexRail, we get it funded and built on the western side, then when this initiative progresses to the point where they can start construction and build out the eastern side, we will just contribute our side and make a TRE type system with the TexRail Cotton Belt Initiative. So obviously there's a lot that needs to happen, including getting the cities on board with some of the funding mechanisms that have been identified.
I guess I didn't really get the answer I was looking for, but I'm not sure I want to ask it in a way to get it.
Well,
because I'm a member of the RTC. Okay.
It's not going to change our efforts. We are moving forward exactly as we planned.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate it.
Members of the court, if we can go to item B, this concerns a presentation by the City of Fort Worth as it relates to the TIF reinvestment zone number 14. Ms. McMillan is here to initially address the court.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning.
The City of Fort Worth is proposing an 1,800-acre tax increment financing and reinvestment zone at Interstate Highway 820 and east along Trinity Boulevard to Bell Spur. And this district will provide approximately $62.5 million in public infrastructure funding that will support the redesign and reconstruction of Trinity Boulevard to alleviate flooding and traffic congestion, and as well as additional street connections and transit-oriented development along the rail line at its northern boundary and extension of the Trinity Trail system into the city of Arlington. Maggie Allen from the City of Fort Worth is here today to give a presentation on the proposed tax increment financing district number 14.
Good. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Good.
Good. My name is Marguerite Allen, and I'm here with the City of Fort Worth Housing and Economic Development Department to give you an overview of Fort Worth's latest tax increment financing district, number 14, also known as the Trinity Lakes TIF District. The emergence of over 2,600 homes, the expansion of Bell Helicopter Textron, and the anticipated growth of mixed-use destinations, employment centers, and transit-oriented development have created a unique opportunity for positive growth and change in the Trinity Lakes area. However, as you know, flooding and traffic congestion along Trinity Boulevard and Precinct Line Road have slowed this development and must be improved in addition to other public improvements for future development in the area to be viable. As you can see from this map, much of the area as it exists is located within the floodplain. This map depicts how the area will be reclaimed through additional lakes for flood protection, while also incorporating the regrading of the area for future development. Newell Companies has made a huge positive impact in the area, investing over $108 million since 1999. Additionally, the area includes over 1,200 homes, several lakes, and over 3 miles of natural trails. This map shows the boundary of the Trinity Lakes TIF District. The TIF District consists of approximately 1,800 acres, generally bounded by the Trinity Railway Express, TRE line to the north, the Trinity River to the south, the Bell Spur to the east, and Loop 820 to the west. The majority of the river trails and surrounding neighborhood residential development has been excluded from the proposed TIF district in order to meet composition requirements. As you can see from the current land use map, much of the TIF district is vacant, shown in light green, with some commercial property which is shown in red. A small portion of the TIF district, just south of Trinity Boulevard, consists of single-family homes. The City of Fort Worth established Trinity Lakes TIF on November 12th. As previously stated, the TIF district consists of just under 1,800 acres with an estimated taxable value of nearly $40 million. When the TIF expires in 2032, the TIF district is expected to have a taxable value of over $862 million, or over 2,000% growth since its establishment. After dissolution, the TIF district is expected to generate $9.5 million annually to the taxing jurisdictions. $62 million in project costs are anticipated to take place. Projects include public improvements along Trinity Boulevard and Precinct Line Road, extension of the Trinity Trail system by 6.5 miles, local street improvements, enhanced wayfinding signage, waterfront improvements, public area facility enhancements, bicycle facility connections, public information stations, public transit improvements, and other improvements associated with public transit. One of the major projects in the TIF district is the transformation of Trinity Boulevard. I've included an image of the Trinity Boulevard as it exists today and how it is anticipated to look in the future. As you can see, trees and lighting improvements will line the divided arterial. This map depicts the Trinity system in red. It is anticipated 6.5 miles of additional trails will be connected from Fort Worth to Arlington. Approximately 200 acres along Trinity Boulevard along the east side of 820 will be rezoned through form-based code. The Zoning Commission was provided an overview in August, and zoning application was filed on September 7, 2012. It will be considered by council on Tuesday, and it has already been approved by the Zoning Commission approximately 2 weeks ago. These images depict what form-based zoning might look like in the Trinity Lakes area. There are 6 main character zones: Boulevard mixed use, Village mixed use, Highway mixed use, Campus commercial, Transition, and Neighborhood. This is how the character zones will flow through the Trinity Lakes area. Some things to keep in mind: the area will be rail ready but not rail dependent. There'll be mixed-use entertainment on the lakefront, a regional commercial campus, and urban residential to support retail. Our financing plan is straightforward and conservative. Although new taxable value is anticipated, we have estimated only an additional 2% annual growth in taxable value. You may recall some of our TIF districts have outperformed this percentage. However, we wanted to make sure that the TIF was able to cash flow properly. Taking into account these assumptions, the City of Fort Worth has pledged an 85% participation rate, bringing in 82% of the necessary increment to carry out the project plan. Upon official adoption of the project and financing plans, we will return to request an official participation agreement for 50% for the county. At the 50% level, the county would generate approximately $10.8 million, or 15% of the necessary increment. We are also hopeful the Water District will participate, although an official agreement has not been reached. Over the 20-year term, the TIF district is expected to generate approximately $72 million. Over the life of the TIF district, it is anticipated more than $384 million in commercial growth and $275 million in residential growth will take place. This is equal to nearly $660 million in new investment. I should have noted on this slide that these are actually new incremental taxes dedicated and retained by the county, and the county will continue to receive taxes generated from the base value. As you can see, the dedicated portion is much less than the taxes retained. In fact, it is expected the county will receive over $2 million per year after the TIF district has expired. This means it will only take 5 or 6 years before the county is able to regain what it is dedicated during the TIF's active period. Some main benefits for Tarrant County. The TIF district has many benefits for Tarrant County. First, of course, the infrastructure improvements to Trinity Boulevard and Precinct Line Road will provide increased traffic and flood management, providing protection and increased emergency access for Tarrant County residents. Secondly, these public improvements will provide essential infrastructure to sustain viable development, that without these improvements, there's a risk the development might not take place in a timely manner. Third, of course, new development means new tax increment for Tarrant County. With a proposed participation rate of 50%, this means 50% of the new increment generated will go straight to the county's general fund, allowing the county to continue to provide essential services to citizens. It is anticipated City Council will formally appoint the TIF Board Board of Directors at the first of the year, hopefully on January 8th. Once the Board of Directors has been appointed, the Board will meet to discuss and adopt the project and financing plans and recommend City Council do the same. Finally, City Council will formally adopt the project and financing plans, and once these steps have taken place, the TIF Board will be able to consider development agreements for individual projects. And at this time, I'll be happy to take any questions.
I had one.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
This development, I understand that the TIF portion of it is all in the city of Fort Worth. Are there other parts of that development that aren't, of course, they would not be in the TIF, but are in Richland Hills, Arlington,
I don't believe so, no.
Alton City?
All in the city of Fort Worth, yes. Yes, sir.
I noticed there is a kind of like a finger crossover to 820. Is that part of the existing River Bend Business Park? Or
I believe it is just south from the River Bend Business Park.
It's across the other side of 820.
it's on the, yeah.
It's on the east side. Same people, though.
Okay, so we have the same developer here.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions?
This will be great for that area.
This would be great.
You know, we just kind of gave a lot of that from my precinct to Roy. When all those Republicans move into this deal, he's going to want to give it back.
I doubt it.
This TIF district is solely in Precinct 1, Commissioner Brooks' precinct, and he has been at several meetings, so he's aware of the project and knew it was going to be on the agenda today. We will be moving forward. Hopefully next week, Commissioner Brooks will appoint a board representative, and then that representative will be working along with staff, with the city, and sometime at the first part of next year, we'll be coming back with a proposed tax agreement. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Commissioner Johnson, that's all we have at this time.
All right, we will recess then to closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551071072, 074076.
Let's go to El Asadero, man.
All right.
Oh, no, it'll be fine.
We're ready. Since we have nothing to vote on after closed, this meeting is adjourned.
I understand we have bad feedback or something.
Yeah, and we're getting that